That was in 5D today, Problem
Wow.
Bean. Did you see that?
Impressed.
It was slightly better
Impressed.
than the 4D version.
Wow.
I thought it was quite impressive. Did you not get the 4D glasses I sent you?
No.
Well, they're totally useless now. I'll have to send you some.
I
So
need upgrade.
I'll send you some 6D glasses because the next version will be in 6D.
Holy shit.
Worth waiting for. I can assure you that. Yeah.
Does it come with smell-o-vision or?
No, that's the 7D version with the
Wow.
reclining movable chairs.
I need that.
It's well worth the wait, my friend. It's well worth the wait.
I am absolutely convinced by that.
You've not used it yet, so it's good. Anyway,
I have faith.
Problem Being, how are you?
Yeah, I'm here.
Good lad.
Yeah.
You sleeping better yet, or is it still all over the place?
No, I had a really good sleep. I was up at the crack of a sparrow's fart this morning.
Yep.
And on with some work.
Feel refreshed, yes?
A little. A little. I mean, it was taking it out of me after being up all previous night and, yesterday over this Gina Carano business.
Ooh,
really fired me up, so I couldn't sleep. So I just
I know you was I noticed you were hitting the Twitter hard.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
I had a massive ratio of retweets and likes, so that was pretty good. So clearly I was
are you
scraping the sides.
Are you like Disney, data driven?
Must be. Yeah, if they can't get the data from that by now, then God help them.
Maybe you should your new name should be Problem Data Driven Being.
I think you might be onto something there, actually.
Yes. Twitter. You were very yes. You're addicted to that, aren't you?
Not addicted. I'm addicted to standing up to stupid people.
There is a lot of those.
Yeah.
Greetings,
you need a bit of balance on Twitter, and I'm hopefully one of those who adds a bit of balance.
Very good. Guess who's here, everybody? We've not seen him for a while. It's the Stig. You're right, Stig.
I am all right. I am back. It's good to be back behind the microphone after an absence of a couple of weeks imposed by the limitations on electronics and the internet and whatnot. But I'm back and looking forward to getting into the saddle. So this is a good way to do it.
Yes, Commander Culture's back. Cockney's going to be disappointed because he's not here. I don't know where he is. But yeah, are you well, Commander?
I am well. I am in high spirits. Despite all the crazy, stupid stuff going on in the world, I can't let it get to me. And just keep my eyes focused and moving forward. Yep.
How is the new fortress?
It is quite superb. It should be much more impenetrable to tuxedo-wearing Scotch-speaking British people.
Yeah.
And we're hoping that the new geothermal volcano laser cannon kicks in here pretty soon, so I can start threatening Disney.
Will you be buying curtains?
We can only hope. Hope.
I think the hangar that you're in now, I think it needs a few drapes, as it were.
Yeah, well, it takes a while to furnish something of this magnitude, and being kind of a Spartan myself, I need the woman's touch to come in and do stuff, but so that takes negotiating.
How is Mrs. Stig? She all right?
She's doing well. Yeah, she has a walk-in closet of her own now, and taking up
Nice.
most of her time.
Nice, nice. So you're going to be getting back to the channel real soon, yes?
Yes, I hope so. It's going to take a little bit of time to overcome sort of some of these audio difficulties that you have been experiencing.
Yeah.
Come on, but the sooner that I can get onto that new computer setup, the better.
Yeah.
And then really I'll start plugging ahead.
I almost feel like you've been missing out with all the interesting stuff that's been going on the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I feel like I have too. I mean, I was off the internet for 2 weeks or so, and then I come back as soon as I log on, everything's blowing up about Gina Carano, and and it was amazing to me because Disney just cannot stop from shooting themselves in the face. I mean, they accidentally put Luke Skywalker up there, get back a whole bunch of fan, the loyalty or love or whatever you want to call it. I was skeptical, as we talked about, but a lot of people liked it. And then I thought, okay, well, they're probably going to go forward with this. I mean, they have what is it called? Investor meetings.
The investor,
yeah. And so it's like, okay, well, this is going to be the new way to go. And then you see they come out and they're like, Gina Carano is out because she used Twitter once or twice. And it's like, oh, wow. Because the way I read it is, there's twice as much love for Gina Carano's brand new character as there is for Disney trying to inject life back into
for Disney, basically.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for the whole of Disney.
Yeah, how dare she have an opinion?
Oh, yeah. I'm scandalized, I mean,
yeah.
I on the video yesterday, Lee, of all the kind of streams I watched, I thought your little analogy at the beginning of our stream yesterday was pretty much spot on. I kind of get the feeling that a lot of the streams weren't quite tuned in. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, this kind of thing, is kind of in my DNA, I guess. It's something that because I've seen for far too long now, this kind of very lazy, pseudo-intellectual people using the word Yahtzee sort of very flippantly, and it's a very cheap currency to them. And then I saw what happened to Gal Gadot and how these very same cancel culture-minded people went after her, and because she's Jewish, they were saying, what Zionist pig and all this kind of stuff. And I see these people, same sort of people, I'm not saying it's the same people, but the same minded people going after her for anti-Semitism. And it's kind of like, it just seems so disingenuous to me. And but my sort of resonance with the issue of using Yahtzee themed things, I've generally said many times on Twitter, for people to stop using those terms in that context, because I find that offensive. Not that I want to cancel people, I just want to think about what they're doing.
Yeah.
But what Gina did was well within reason, I think, and that nuance is lost on reactionaries. And I think that that's a massive problem, because if you think about how Jewish people think about what happened in the Holocaust, and she didn't actually raise the Holocaust. A lot of people are saying that she was, using the Holocaust for whatever reason, and no, she wasn't. She didn't mention the Holocaust whatsoever, and that's a very distinct difference. What she was doing, and what Jews would say, is that we have to learn from that history. We must never forget what happened.
Yes.
And she was doing that job of reminding people to look out for these markers which point towards a direct correlation with what happened.
Agreed.
And I think that that's incumbent upon people to do that sort of thing, and she did, and it wasn't insensitive. I wasn't offended at all by it. I understood it because I have a brain, and I can think for myself, and I can and I have a connection to the subject because on as I said before, my mother's side, Her parents were the only survivors, and an uncle who passed away, when he was younger.
Yeah.
Not from Auschwitz, but that side of my family were annihilated in concentration camps. So for me, the Pedro Pascal post was more offensive, and people are legitimizing that post, saying that's passable, that's fine. No,
why was that? I only, to be honest, yesterday was the first time I saw the image. Why do you think they were saying it was passable?
Because he's on their side, and because he's making a point against these terrible right-wingers and all the rest of that. But for me, it was more disingenuous because that was directly related to the Holocaust, unlike Gina's, which was not.
Yeah.
The image was of comparing kids in cages today, as part of the ICE controls and the borders of America and Mexico.
Yeah, that was referring to the Trump. Mexican
which was
stuff,
actually, the cages were set up by the previous administration, Obama and Biden. But the trouble is, these kids in the concentration camps in Germany, or wherever it was in that case, or Poland, or wherever, the Ukraine, or various places, were certainly to die. In the most part, these kids were not. Plus the fact that the picture that he actually used for the ICE center wasn't apparently from an ICE center at all. According to one source, was from Palestine.
Oh, okay. So it was a butchered photograph.
Hackneyed job, yeah. And that for me is very misleading. What he did was misleading. What Gina was doing was drawing it's like a parable, really. A comparison from the ideology using large swathes of a population to turn against their neighbors, and even the children, to chasing that woman down the street. I mean, it is very similar to what elected politicians in America are actually saying, leave no stone unturned, find these supporters of Trump and make their lives uncomfortable, whether it's in a cafe or it's in the shop or down the street. You target them, you go after them and put them on lists and put them in re-education camps or centers or whatever. And this is a rhetoric that's actually being used. And that is, I'm afraid to say, very, very parallel to what was going on at the time in 1930s Germany.
I genuinely just cannot believe it. What do you think, Commander? It just seems like something it's something bad from history, isn't it? That just seems to be coming. We're supposed to be civilized. Do we not learn anything?
No, we don't. I mean, as a student of history, one of the constants of history is the repetition of its most egregious mistakes over and over again, either by people who should know better or by mobs of people who are sort of driven in one direction or another by demagogues or whatever. And I think that that's sort of what we're seeing now is just another repetition. The absolute
history repeating itself.
Oh yeah. No, I mean the thing that the sort of the microcosm of that whole concept to me is these quote liberals calling other people Yazis and the bad guys from Germany when they behave in the exact same manner as those bad guys from Germany. And that's not just sort of like an internet meme or something like that. You can look at the policies of the National Socialist German Workers' Party, and you can see it echoed in, certainly the politics of the left in the United States and other places. And the amount of ignorance that it would take to support those sort of policies or to not understand where they come from, it is to me the most baffling aspect
Yeah,
of all of
yeah.
it. You know,
You know,
although,
authoritarian power
Easy.
and tyranny is not exclusive to one wing or another. You know, it's it can shift, and that's something these people seem to be very aloof of. You know, they just think only the bad guys or people on the right or whatever, and I think that's so painfully ridiculous.
You know, and as I guess you could call me a member of the right in the United States. It's, you know, one of the discussions that we on the right always have is how unright we actually are. You know, when you compare the American right, which is basically like, you know, Republicans, Ronald Reagan and stuff, to the right in other countries, whether that be you know, in Japan or in Myanmar or in Germany or Russia or, you know, European countries, you know, South America, the right is just people who want to live in peace and to have their, you know, to follow the Constitution of the United States as it had been for 150 years or so, and just sort of, you know, engage in commerce and say hi to their neighbors. That's the hard right in the United States. And to find ourselves pushed into such a tiny corner of, you know, of you know, being called extremists for simply wanting to follow what, you know, John F. Kennedy would have wanted to follow in 1961. It sort of is a very it's an alienating sort of a concept, and when you do that to one half of the whole population, as Pedro Pascal did, it's a dangerous sort of a territory to tread on. Because we don't feel, you know, I think, and you know, you folks living in the old world might tell me a little bit better, but you know, the
Third
right
world.
wing, the old world.
Commander, your mic's buzzing again, mate.
I apologize. Is it fixed now?
It's acceptable. Yeah, it's acceptable. It just went a bit funny at the moment.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I moved. I'll try to stop doing that. But you know, the right in Europe and other places, they're very conscious of their extreme positions. You know, they know that they're way out on the edge, wanting to do X and Y and Z and have juntas and all this stuff. Whereas in the United States, to find yourself being called one of those extreme rightists when, you know, you just want to live, you know, the Leave It to Beaver, you know, Ronald Reagan-esque lifestyle, it sort of inflames a passion that wasn't there before. You know, I'm seeing that you know, the normies, quote, are being educated very, very quickly into the fact that there's an us versus them mentality, you know, that you wouldn't have seen even 5 years ago, even when you had a polarizing president like Obama.
There is a lot of tribalism around at the moment.
There is. And it's not healthy because the United States is if I can use the conceit, sort of the leader of the world. And I think I've said before, it's like when America sneezes, the world catches cold. And we're in sort of a unique position where no other country has sort of been. So going back to talking about the cycles of history, you know, I mean, other countries, you know, even Britain have gone through cycles of republicanism and monarchy, and, you know, Germany and France,
Brexitism,
things like this. Sure. But with America, we've never had, you know, a hard right. We've never had a socialist left. We've never had any of these things, and they're blossoming just right and left all around us. Like you know,
I don't think the COOF has helped, has it?
No, it's made things worse to the extent that you know, and then because even that now is a political divide. You know, where people on the right are like, look, we're just completely sick of it. And I'll speak for myself. You know, it's like because I believe in basically individual freedom and choice. I think, okay, if I want to go out and engage in commerce that someone else might regard as risky, that should be my choice.
Yeah.
But I'm not allowed to do that. And you know, and that sort of, and so we're going to see here going forward in the, you know, in this sort of quote new administration, that the more that they try to push, the right now they're up against the limits of what
you go to war,
constitutionalism actually are. Yeah, and there's not 1 inch that any American on that other side of Pedro Pascal's line are willing to budge on. There's really not.
Yeah.
I mean, if they want to look at the First Amendment, Second Amendment, Fourth Amendment, and everyone's just
maybe the next war that America is going to is not with Iraq or Iran. It's with itself.
Mm-hmm.
Could I just bring Cockney Spockin? He's turned up.
Yeah.
Hey,
Oi, oi, Saveloy. Hello, my friends.
He's here.
you're right.
I woke up thinking I'm so tired.
Oh, you
Why
woke
am I
up.
awake? Yeah. I'm technically asleep. Cockney Spock's not here. This is his subconscious speaking. Hello,
The Stig's here.
Stig. How you going, mate? How goes
I'm
the
doing well.
revolution?
I am back.
Our friend, your friend, and my friend Problems here as well.
Yeah. All right. Problem. How you going, son?
Hello. All right.
We were just
Teaser.
talking about how America could possibly be going to war with itself at the moment with all this tribalism stuff going on.
It's straight in the deep end, but it looks that way.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, do bear with me because I'm more wacky than usual, being technically asleep. But but it looks like America is sleepwalking into a civil war. And if I was a bit more awake and a bit less paranoid, I'd be going, this could be a Russian plot. I mean, it's just I don't know how these things start, but that is the warning from history. It's the kind of bipolar division of a nation. I've not seen anything like it. It's quite scary, really.
It is, and I think if I can opine on that, I would definitely agree that there is a civil war in the offing, but the clanking. But
3 shakes.
Sorry. Yeah. Well, I've just dredged all the tea out of Boston Harbour, so I might as well drink it. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, it's a little salty, but
Yeah, I'll say. So, what about that? Oh, tell you, salty tea.
Cruel Birab says, keyword, tribalism, not sexism or racism. Yeah, I think
Well,
tribalism
that's
is
what
the
these
word, yes.
that's what these divisive terms
Yeah.
become. This is the intersectionalist, postmodern or post-Marxist, as I call it, way of the redistribution of power structures. So they create an umbrella diversity grouping of the marginalized or the oppressed as they perceive themselves to be, or certainly perceive groups of people to be, which are fictions, because individuals might not be oppressed or might not feel they're oppressed, but these people speak for them anyway. But it's that kind of natural device, or natural, it's natural that people use groups to create these power struggles in order to exacerbate and throw things into turmoil. So that people who are actually looking for the real power, the power elites, can manipulate people and divide and rule. This is the oldest trick in the book, and people fall for it every time.
Divide and conquer,
So they use that tribalism by creating racial divisions, sex divisions, now gender divisions. Yeah. Football divisions.
Multiple divisions.
Yeah, exactly. Long division.
Very good, very good.
Exactly. Take your numbers down. Yeah, I'll tell you what, I'll give you your money's worth for Cockney Spock here. Do you want a hardcore insight into the mind of Pedro Pascal?
No, please.
Dead serious. The last country that I read about that had that level of division, where and I saw an interview with someone saying at the time, we woke up one morning, there had been political division, there was something in the air, and then that day, literally, there was a left-wing, right-wing, basically a war. And that was in Chile, which is where Pedro Pascal comes from. So he has got.
He's got form.
Yeah. Now, look. Now, I'm always big on saying a reason is not an excuse. But I'm thinking, why did Pedro Pascal put out that tweet comparing half of America to Nazis? Now, it's not right, and in the context of Gina Carano, it's not right that he did that. But the reason is that on September the 11th, 1973, the people of Chile woke up to open war between the left and the right. When I can't believe I just
25
woke up.
minutes.
This is good.
25 minutes. Wow.
Yeah. There's no joke
You're
coming
on-
here, folks.
you're on
But
fire, mate.
basically, yeah, September the 11th, 1973, the democratically elected left-wing government of was it Allende? Salvador Allende was overthrown by General Augusto Pinochet in basically an open, bloody revolution, which, sorry to say, was supported by the USA. And
the UK as well. I remember Pinochet visited number 10, didn't he?
Friend of Thatcher.
Now this was I was thinking,
Friend of Thatcher.
Basically, given the right-wing junta of no pun intended of Pinochet, and they were literally dropping people out of helicopters. I thought,
in the chat.
why was Maggie Thatcher so supportive to him? And here's the complication: Chile supported the United Kingdom in the Falklands War against Argentina.
Yes.
And that solved the mystery about why Maggie Thatcher literally gave shelter to Augusto Pinochet, who at the time was a known, infamous, notorious war criminal. So there you go.
Double standards.
Hardcore Cockney, sheer fucking double standards. But in a weird, warped way, I can't believe I'm standing up for Maggie Thatcher, who we all grew up hating, basically, because it was the opposition. But that's what, in a warped way, that's why they did. They might have been a right-wing fascist government, but they helped us against Argentina's right-wing fascist government. So I'm not saying it's correct, but in a warped way, Maggie Thatcher was being basically loyal basically was being reciprocal and helped the shoot. There you go. So no jokes here. This is hardcore politics. I need to be half awake for this.
Brilliant.
It's a very, very serious and sad chapter of history, and it is weird for me that it did happen literally on September the 11th, 1973. That was their own 9/11, and it
You
literally
nailed
happened
that
on
one,
9/11.
mate. Well done, mate.
Yeah, so to be fair, that would have affected Pedro Pascal's family directly. That's why they left Chile, and that's why he's in the United States. So he must have, the same way that I've been affected by being born in communist Poland, he would have been born in Chile and had to leave because of that revolution. So he's basically got leftism in his blood, basically. So that doesn't justify his tweets, but it certainly explains them.
Right.
Oh,
yeah, but surely you would still recognise forms of tyranny. I mean, I don't know if you're within it. You probably, I don't know if you can see it, but I mean, surely.
There you go. So you disagree with yourself. That's how complicated it is.
Yeah, I mean, it must be a
Problem
real
being devil's advocate.
Yeah, well, I just think it seems so reactionary, and you think about how revolutions start. It's through reactionism.
Yes.
Using that kind of rhetoric, and himself employing propagandist level tweeting. It seems almost like a
it's a vicious circle, isn't it?
So I will say, as the representative of the American right here, that in some of the darker and even now some of the less dark corners of that subculture, Pinochet himself is enjoying something of a renaissance. I mean, there are T-shirts being made with his likeness, and jokes being made about helicopters and things like that because of that that looming divide that we mentioned earlier, right?
Yeah.
And the cynic in me would say that maybe Pinochet was onto something if people like Pablo Hidalgo had to get out of his country, you know what I mean, in order to save their skin, because they come to a place like the United States and cause the same kind of divisions.
Oh, here you go, boys. In the chat. Sorry.
I
did not. Cruel Beer right in. I did not.
He's
know
on the
that.
money. Is that boy today?
Thanks for joining the dots. I did not know that. So okay, that kind of, again doesn't
Sorry,
justify.
Commander.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, no. So this is what I'm saying is that these kind of things like Pablo Hidalgo himself of Chilean descent coming to the United States as a refugee, right, and then inflicting the same kind of division in this country that his family fled from only adds fuel to the
fire.
To the fire, to the emotions. Like, first of all, maybe Pinochet was onto something. Maybe we follow his lead. And hey, this guy is not the kind of person that we want to, have represent, the people who come to the United States seeking freedom, anti-immigrant sentiment and whatnot. So, anyway, the whole Chile thing is interesting. Yeah, their Temple of Doom's Bacchni, I guess you are today. That's definitely
I forgot to change it.
It doesn't
good
roll off the
observation.
tongue, that.
It doesn't really. But, going back to talking about that, Civil War thing in America, the thing that I'm concerned about is not so much a civil war, because, hey, every country has civil wars. The thing that concerns me, that's tongue in cheek, is that, before a civil war, I think that we would see, America lashing out. You see what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
You find a scapegoat somewhere else, and you turn on that scapegoat, whether that's going to be Iran, whether that's going to be
Syria,
with China, whether that's with Russia, Syria, something like that.
All of the above.
Which will then, all of the above, which would spiral into something out of control, which would then lead to, political instability in the United States. That's the series of dominoes that I see happening. Although, it could be something economic, it could be something, medical or social in regards to this whole Corona situation. Because people are really on pins and needles. I don't know how it is there in merry old England. We hear the horror stories, and but in the United States, it's really pins and needles. I can tell you in my own family and those that I know of, there is a very sharp divide where people won't even speak to one another, or have hostile words, or cut people out of the will, or
That's bad as that.
It sounds like Brexit.
Yeah.
And we still haven't had the full fallout of that, with
Yeah.
Scotland looking like it wants to break away in Northern Ireland. And,
Scotland's always wanted to break away, though, in recent political memory. But the difference being that the Great Britain doesn't have 600 million firearms, squirreled away here
Never
and
thought
there
of
and
that.
everywhere. And sort of in America, I can't get into the head of people from the United Kingdom, but in America, there's this idea, especially just among bread and butter Americans, that you have a gun, you use it. Oh, somebody gets in my way, I'll blow his head off. It's just sort of a thing. It's not something just in movies. It's kind of a cultural mentality.
The right to bear arms. It goes all the way to the right to bear arms, doesn't it?
It does. It goes, and you have not just that, but you have that whole frontier mentality. You have all this other stuff, that sort of feeds into this idea of somebody crosses me and they're going to get it, right? And now that doesn't always translate into real life. A lot of it's just braggadocio. But when you push like Pablo hit all of those heads, 73 million or whatever people into a corner, and they're the heavily armed segment of the population that actually believes this kind of rhetoric about blow somebody's head off if they cross.
Well, it's the reason China never invaded America, isn't it? Because they said behind every blade of grass, there was a militiaman.
Japan, Japan was that.
Japan,
that was floated during World War II. They said, well, look, they haven't got any army. We defeated their navy. Why not just land troops on the coast? They said, are you freaking crazy? Their people have more guns than their army does. And they, okay, well, we'll stick to the seas then. And that didn't even work out well for them. But that's absolutely true. And so, some blogger that I read the other day did sort of a breakdown looking at the arms that are in the hands of just people who are like right-wing patriots, or what the news media would call right-wing patriots, vastly outnumbers even the totality of the U.S. armed forces. And the fact that the U.S. armed forces can't even defeat goat herders in Afghanistan after 20 years doesn't really bode well for their ability to succeed in trying to stop, an insurgency or a civil war in America. That doesn't mean it wouldn't be a completely bloody affair.
Although, to be fair, goat herders in Afghanistan have been destroying empires since they've been doing it to the British in the 1890s or whenever it was. Afghanistan, where empires go to die. I mean, that's basically that is basically how, simplistically, but how Russia lost the Cold War. They bankrupted themselves in Afghanistan.
I agree, and it's how America lost its prominence in the world by bankrupting itself in Vietnam. But I will tell you, just as an American, I have to
Yes.
say that America also has a history of defeating, fuddy-duddy old empires. But that's just a conceit, right? We started with England,
Yeah.
and then we finished with Japan. So,
Are you sure? Because most of your ruling elites are related to the royal family.
that goes both ways, right? With Churchill's
Yeah.
mom being American and everything. So
Yes.
yeah,
And wasn't Boris Johnson born in New York?
American.
there you go. See,
Ugh.
he was probably Trump's twin or something. with
Probably,
that.
yeah, in a way. It's funny though. Well, not funny.
Baby
not
Trump.
funny, ha ha. Funny, strange. But when Russia invaded Afghanistan, certain circles in the U.S. Congress were apparently calling. They're going, "Oh yeah, Afghanistan, Russia's Vietnam." And then, of course, when we, being the US and the UK, invaded Afghanistan, I thought, oh, well, now it's our Vietnam. So we kind of didn't learn that lesson because we're still there now. I mean, pretty much we're coming up for 20 years later. We're still there, aren't we? So
Yeah, at least the Soviets had the good sense to get out at a certain point. The United States is too stupid. You guys all probably saw the movie Charlie Wilson's War. It sort of talks about that, where we saw that and we're like, oh yeah, we're going to go stick it to them. And in 2001, me, a young budding student of history, looked at that and said, are these people freaking insane?
Opium is big business.
Oh, sure.
That's the thing. The opium production stopped for a while after our invasion, and then it exploded basically, and that's the whole thing. And of course,
the Taliban were burning the crop fields. It's only when they were pushed back, the Americans guarded it, and it increased yield.
That's true. Yeah.
And of course, the whole quagmire in Afghanistan started because we, being the allies, principally the US, but this is basically very well detailed in Charlie Wilson's War. We were arming the Mujahideen with Stinger missiles to take down Russian helicopters, and then because it gets quite complex, the Mujahideen aren't the Taliban, but that's basically one became the other, and we armed them, and now they're the enemy.
Yeah.
They only want you when you're Mujahideen. When you're Taliban, you're no fun. They take a Polaroid and let you go, send you to Guantanamo, so shalom. Little Ladytron reference there. Oh, I can't believe I had the opportunity to stick that in. Thanks. Brilliant. I've been waiting years for that. They only want you when you're Mujahideen, when you're Taliban, you're no fun. They take a Polaroid, send you to Guantanamo, so shalom. Anyway, no punchline. It's all serious stuff, but it's happening right before our eyes.
Very serious today.
Yep. No
Very
jokes
serious. Here. Not on this channel, no. Not today. Because the Stig's in the house.
Uh-oh, it's all me, huh?
Yeah, it's all your fault.
Yeah.
Bloody Americans.
Dang it, we ruin everything.
I do find it very disturbing how one day in America, a neighbour could look on another neighbour as the enemy. Say they've been living next to each other for 10, 15 years, and
precisely what Gina Carano was saying.
Yeah, morning, how are you, and all that nice, the first name basis, and one day you just look out the curtains, see what they're up to, taking notes. Oh, it's not good, is it?
No. When did this start? I think this was in 2016 when Trump first came in, or when he was about to, win the presidency. And there were signs that started popping up in American neighborhoods. Not pro-Trump signs, but they were pro, not Biden or Hillary Clinton or anything like that, but just pro-leftist, right? And it said hate has no home here, and it had all sorts of symbols of this and symbols of that, and those signs were aimed at neighbors' houses. People would post those not as a statement of this is what I believe, right? It was a statement of this is why I'm superior to you, scumbag. Sort of aimed at other neighbors' houses, and that is when things really started breaking apart. And of course, the irony is, hate has no home here is a statement of love, right? These people are under the delusion that they are, the good guys, while they're, gritting their teeth into a fine powder, looking at their neighbors who have the temerity to vote for a guy who, looks orange. I mean,
What?
um,
But that hate with the neighbours. I mean, basically, is Sklavko in the chat?
He's floating around somewhere.
Right. Well, Sklavko will know better than any of us that this is basically literally what happened in the Balkans, in Kosovo, in Pristina, in around 1990, where people that had been neighbours for decades
Yeah.
basically turned to open warfare.
On foot.
And
Right,
basically right on Europe's doorstep. And of course, Europe was basically paralysed, and we did fuck all about it,
Yeah.
apart from
Well-
bombing the Chinese embassy.
well, I'm not. Well, that was America that did that. Europe was.
Yeah. Whoops,
was-
our bad.
Yeah.
Sorry. Buhau.
But I think that that's what's coming to the United States. I mean, I've thought that for a long time. There's a commentator, what's his name, Matt Bracken, a blogger, and he says that it's basically Bosnia times Rwanda is what he predicts. And I don't.
Oh,
think
that's
wrong.
not good. That's two
No.
historical precedents you don't want to follow, is it? Isn't it?
No, it's not. It's not at all. But I don't see how it's avoidable, to be honest. At this point,
At
I
this
don't know
point, well, that's the thing. Let's hope that never happens again. Never
Don't
happens in the
don't
US.
the American population have a moral compass saying this is wrong?
So,
Or they
well,
just-
saying what's wrong. Because
Shooting
yes,
your neighbours.
but here's the thing. No. Because here's the
Oh, it's
thing.
going back to the gun things, though, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's the gun things, and then also understand that although we were founded as 13 different colonies, the influence
That's
was
Galactica.
puritanical Protestantism, right? And so this not congregational, not Episcopalian, but puritanical. And puritanical is kind of my way or the highway. We burn witches kind of people.
Yep. The
They were
Scarlet
kicked
Letter.
out of England.
Right.
They were kicked out of Holland, which was even more tolerant than England, at the time, if that's possible. And that has underlain the foundation of American culture, through the religious awakenings, through the crusade for democracy. It's through George Bush's statement that, you're either with us or you're with the terrorists. And so if I believe that I am correct and I sit on the right, I am justified in, killing my neighbor. If I am on the left and I believe I'm right, I'm justified in killing my neighbor.
Jesus.
And and so
Jeez.
you get to this point. Yeah, I know, that's what I'm saying. You get to this point, and maybe Slavko can talk about that, but it's like where there's really nothing else for it, because you already feel that it's just a matter of time before they get you. And there's, I mean, it's not sort of a healthy place to be, and so I don't know. So that's the Bosnia aspect. Then you have these racial tensions, which is where the Rwanda thing comes in.
Yes.
And you throw all that together in a country that is, I mean, I hate to say it, that there is, an American nation, but it's at this point it's too much of a patchwork. We talked about tribalism earlier in the chat. There's too much of a patchwork there for a unifying center of identity, and that's and if you don't have that, like you had the Belgians in Rwanda keeping everyone together, you had Marshal Tito in Yugoslavia and the threat of the Soviet Union keeping
The Jacksons
everyone
again.
together. And now that you don't have that, the American government is an extremely weak central authority compared to these ideological passions. You walk into a minefield, and everyone's just sort of tap dancing through it. The Pablo Hidalgos of the world,
literally.
yeah, the Pablo Hidalgos of the world are literally tap dancing on this. The Bob Iger Disney people are tap dancing on this. The Ocasio-Cortez, Nancy Pelosi politicians are doing the same thing. Even, on the Republican side, the Mitch McConnells, the people who, will throw President Trump under the bus or will throw the quote deplorables under the bus.
They're playing with fire.
Well, they are, and we saw. I don't know how closely you guys follow the financial markets, but surely you heard about this GameStop thing that happened last week. This is a kind of a really alarming sort of situation where you have vigilante capitalists going after the established the capitalist establishment, or what you could call the capitalist establishment, in an attempt to take it down, and it crosses a lot of ideological barriers, and where you just see raw hatred. It doesn't matter if that person is Occupy Wall Street and that person is MAGA. we are going to take these bastards down, and that's all that matters. And that's a level of vitriol that I have not yet seen. That came out in this GameStop.
The financial aspect, you're spot on. Do you want to hear my personal
45
theory?
minutes.
On 45, do you want to hear? I've been sitting on this for years, and this is now, boom, I've been awake 5 minutes. Do you want to hear my personal insight stroke theory into the real reason why we invaded Iraq?
Lay it on me.
Okay, because obviously it wasn't weapons of mass destruction, because we still ain't found them. And obviously the standard cynical responses, we wanted the oil. There's more to it than that. Do you know Saddam Hussein's last announcement before he got invaded? It's this. He announced that he was going to drop the selling oil using the petrodollar, and he was going to switch to the euro, and that's when he got invaded, because America, since it got dropped off the gold standard by Richard Nixon in, I believe it was 1973, which was, of course, the same year that Chile turned on itself. Basically, without the gold standard, the US dollar is a fiat currency. It's completely worthless. And newsflash for you. And so the only thing that's propping it up is the fact that the petrodollar is a monopoly. If you want to buy or sell oil as a country in the world, you have to trade by US dollars. So for a country like Venezuela that's got nothing to do with the US dollar, it's got to buy US dollars or sell them in order to trade oil. And so Iraq threatened to come off the petrodollar. That was the last straw. And that's why they got invaded. I mean, that's my own personal theory, but I have been studying these things. So there you go. But no mainstream journalist has ever come up with that. But
because it's like the petrodollar is the universal currency, and you put that in danger, and it takes away the power.
And that's why China.
Very good.
Buying up gold reserves, and that's why countries have been basically buying back their gold. And getting to the point where the countries holding the gold, which I think is the US and the UK, are basically going, no, you can't have your gold back. And they go, it's our gold. And that's why if China gets too much gold, there's the rumor that, well, what I hear in my political circles is they are going to trade oil using the yuan, the Chinese currency. Yeah. So this is it. Basically, once countries such as, especially a big one like China, come off the petrodollar, game on. It's war. It's simple as that.
Right. Well, they really China is settling contracts outside of the petrodollar, especially with countries like Iran and Venezuela.
Yes.
Because they're not. I mean, Venezuela can't get dollars. Iran can't get dollars, and so China has come into that vacuum and said, we'll take it. Russia is also trading in kind since they were removed from the SWIFT payment system. With other countries, in Europe and other places under the table. But you're absolutely right. And in fact, I'll expand on your theory about Saddam Hussein, which is correct. Muammar Gaddafi made the same statement immediately before he was deposed. He was saying that he was going to form an African Union that based a monetary currency union, sort of like the EU, backed by gold and oil, which would allow settlements in that currency. And then he was completely blasted. While being a supporter of the United States. He was a supporter of the United States against Hussein, Al-Qaeda and all those other guys, the 9/11 quote plotters, because he knew. I mean, he had tried that in the 80s with the Lockerbie bombing. It didn't work out well for him, and so he got onto the good guy side.
He was a supporter of the.
No, he claimed he claimed responsibility for Lockerbie, but there's a big serious doubt that he did.
He did through my research into the provisional IRA, because I've got personal beef with them, which I won't go into now. But basically, Libya through Gaddafi were supporters of the provisional IRA, so they were no friend of Britain. Which also meant that I don't know why Tony Blair was cozying up to him before he got shot. Not Tony Blair, but Gaddafi duck. So, it's a complex. Well, it's a bad pun, but it's so serious I had to stick that in. Gaddafi duck. What? But it's very complex web, and as the last chat said there, it's very serious, very depressing. But this is real, folks. We can stick our heads in the sand, or we can be aware. I don't know where it's going. I don't know. So I'm going to read that if I may. Mark Challis says quite rightly, this is very serious, very interesting, but extremely terrifying chat. You're not wrong. I mean, there's a bit of me going, I'm still asleep. This is a nightmare. But this is happening. Unfortunately, this is the complex and dark world in which we live. Have fun,
you don't
folks.
get this on Heels v Babyface, do you?
No, you do not. And meanwhile, here's a unpacking of a box of biscuits.
So if I'm
50 minutes.
Really enjoying this, and I want to piggyback sort of on what you were saying there about the gold too, because you made a statement. I want to see your thoughts on it, because my understanding from everything that I've read and researched is not so much that China isn't allowed to get the gold from the United States and from Britain, so much as the United States and Britain don't have the gold that they say that they have. If you look at the gold
Gordon Brown
reserves,
sold it all.
they
sold
it all.
They have, and they've sold it all
Yep.
to China, and they've sold
Yep.
it to other countries.
Yep.
And so the petrodollar is literally the thread that this
Yes.
superpower armed with nuclear weapons is clinging to for
Yes.
its last shred of legitimacy,
Yes.
which is why it'll go to any lengths to protect that, including
Yes.
major wars. And and that thing with the gold, and more an interesting thing, we tried in the 1940s. We held, because America and Britain were the trusted countries in the world, capitalist countries. We held the gold of the Empire of Japan, and when they did some things that we didn't like, and we said, stop doing that, and they said, I'm sorry, we're a sovereign country, we're allowed to do whatever we want. The United States actually went into the vaults that the Empire of Japan had rented from the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, and seized the gold of the Empire of Japan and said, this is all ours, screw you. And they basically used that gold to conduct trade with sovereign nations. They would move the gold bar from the Japanese side over to the British side, over to the German side, whatever, and we simply seized it. And because of that, they were unable to buy the oil that they needed to fuel their war machine, and so they launched into a war. And so the United States trying to put the crimp on anyone's gold, which we could conceivably, do in the future, would directly lead to war the same way it did in World War II.
I was going to say, I literally just because I get notifications when I'm on here, which I can't go into it because then I'll lose my connection.
Posting a video about this.
But I literally this is the thing we were talking about pop culture.
The gold reserves today at Disney.
No, that's funny. The thing is, I just literally got an update from my software, which is basically a US Army app that gives you the real information about what's going on. There's just literally been a drone strike in Iran. So that's literally news just in this minute. So war in Syria against Iran.
It's on the way,
forces.
isn't it? It's on the way.
Hezbollah. Well, it's happening right now. It's literally, I just got that come up on my screen this minute. So fuck.
Yeah, that will be happening. Iran is the most likely place. Syria is a second. But as soon as, because the U.S. will lose the plot as soon as they get involved in any sort of a war with any enemy that can push back, and then you'll have things kicking off all around the world. I don't know whether that'll be China settling scores with Taiwan, Pakistan, and India. Stuff going on in Eastern Europe.
Could be any of those. I'll tell you what, specifically Iran, my information is that Iran has been buying speedboats like they're going out of fashion. And from a tactical perspective, because the US does have, like Britain used to have, basically the world's best and most powerful navy. Iran know this. They can't, they haven't got the funds to basically get a battleship against US battleships. But what they do have is this literal fleet of speedboats, and it's going to be a swarm attack. You're going to see it. If this happens in 2 weeks, you're going to be going back to this show going, fuck, these cunts were right. Basically, Iran.
As I said,
you're going to see it. You're going to see it in the Straits of Hormuz. If the US get involved in a water war in the Straits of Hormuz, Iran are going to use speedboats and drones to literally swarm US warships.
As I said, if Az v Babyface starts doing streams about this, he's been watching our channel. So just saying.
If he invites me on, I'm happy.
Well, my friends, time for an insight into the Iranian proxy war. Exactly.
Poxy on proxy.
With our friend Mohammed Cthulhu.
Allah Akbar, push my button. Oh, we didn't go there. We went there.
Sorry, guys, in the chat. Sorry.
No.
Gallows humor, folks.
Go on, Commander. Go on.
No, Spockney's exactly right. The U.S. won't be stupid enough to send a fleet into the Persian Gulf in that kind of environment, but they will send a destroyer or two in there to get sunk, like the USS Maine or something in the Spanish-American War, and then everyone can feel terrible.
Lusitania, that's another one.
Right, like that. But what they will do with those speedboats, and they have tons and tons of surface-to-surface missiles, is they will stop oil traffic. And that is where it'll really hurt. And the thing is that's stupid about this is the U.S. doesn't have the ability to force Iran to stop doing whatever it's doing. I mean, short of nuclear war, that we can't invade. It would just be the end of the petrodollar by our own hand. And I don't know if the powers that be would say, well, it's better if we stop it ourselves so that we can control X, Y, and Z. But But Iran basically holds all the cards there, just like China holds all the cards when it comes to holding U.S. debt, to having a gold-backed yuan currency that replaces the petrodollar. America is at a complete disadvantage. The only advantage we have is in military power, a big fleet, and a nuclear stockpile. Somebody I read today said we're basically Walmart with missiles. That's the United States. And I would disagree.
And the other thing, since we're going, since basically there's no taboo left here, this is also why the only other strength is basically a military alliance with Israel, because Israel is pretty much fighting a proxy war against Iran right now, and has been for
and so are the Saudis. And so are the Saudis. It's kind of a Saudi-Israel-U.S. axis.
That's it. Well, last time I told it was some German lady, whenever it happened, I can't remember how many months ago it was, but a small detail that Israel is now flying commercial flights in Saudi airspace, and which is it's a small step, but it seems weird. Go on.
Could I ask? I don't pretend to understand a lot of what you're saying. I'll make no bones about that. Iran, as somebody with a simplistic, thing on life as me, what is Iran's problem?
Very simply, Iran is it's a Shia country.
It's a theocracy, isn't it?
It's completely surrounded by Sunni Islam. So it's like if you had one country in the world that was Catholic and all the others that were Protestant, and you were in the middle of the 1600s or something. That's a big part of it.
Guys, I've got basically a very simplistic view of that, but it's basically Sunni delight, Shia fear, and that is why I think I've got a personal theory why Saddam Hussein was surprised that he got deposed, because he must have known what would have happened if we took him out, which is what has happened, which is that basically Iraq is effectively now a proxy of Iran, because it's a Sunni, it's a Shia majority country that was ruled by a Sunni minority.
Could have been totally different.
The Ba'athist Party. And so when we took out Saddam Hussein, it's basically, it's not an exaggeration to say, when they say, Hillary Clinton created ISIS, it wasn't her, but it was basically Paul Bremner, through his ignorance, disbanded. Well, basically, he had a World War II playbook. He thought, denazification. So he went de-Baathification. So he basically fired the Shia majority ruling class, sent them home with their weapons and no money, and a bunch of them basically got together and formed ISIS. Now that's simplistic, but broadly speaking, that is true, and that's why, in some cases, ISIS are on our side when they're fighting against Iran. Sounds weird, because given that ISIS are almost comic book bad guys. If you thought Al Qaeda were bad, ISIS are worse. But when they're fighting Iran, then we'll let them get on with it. Basically, I mean that's how
double standards.
And it's sick and complicated. But that is so Sunni delight, Shia fear. It's a bit glib, but that's your at a glance guide to the Middle East. And so you're quite right.
I always thought the Iran normal people wanted to, the young people wanted to embrace the West.
Yes,
they do, and they did. And that's another sub part of this whole equation, is that Persia under the Shah, Iran.
Yeah.
Shah of Iran.
Was the most westernized, sort of progressive, I guess you could call it, industrially and socially and economically country in the Middle East.
Yes.
Up through the Victorian era and into the 20th century.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
when the Shah was deposed, because of goings on that started at the end of World War II with the Soviet Union and blah blah blah, and then it became sort of a game for the spy agencies,
Yes.
and then they
'Cause
both
it was-
lost control.
Well,
And
it was the US and the UK that got rid of Mossadegh, who was the Iranian prime minister, because basically we wanted the oil. So 'cause
Right.
Mossadegh was a bit of a communist, and it gets even more complex because apparently Mossadegh was hated by the traditionalist Iranian clerics, but we basically through getting rid of Mossadegh, basically pushed them together, and that's why the clerics took over, and we've got this situation there where you've got this religious fundamentalist government governing a country that's basically like us. So that's the thing. We've got no quarrel with the Iranian people. I mean, two of them are in the expanse, although one of them's been fired, so another level of complication there. But this is it. So it's really, want to make that clear. Love the Iranians, great bunch of lads and lasses. It's the government. It's the autocratic government basically that we.
No, you're getting a lot of a groundswell of sort of civil disobedience, aren't you? You got a lot of Iranian sort of feminists who are standing in the middle of the streets and taking their headgear off to in
and getting
defiance
arrested
and
for
getting
it.
arrested. Yeah, very intense. Very intense.
The best thing that could happen is a natural revolution to happen in Iran, a new revolution, a counter-revolution, basically to get rid of the.
Well, they removed
clerics.
that top general, didn't they? They managed to assassinate him.
Yeah, that was kind of on one level that was Trump being mad, but in a way, I mean, he definitely angered them. But he did get rid of. Was it Soleimani?
Yeah,
it was a drone strike in Iraq. I mean, and that begs the question: what was he doing in Iraq in the first place? And that's why, because they have basically become, and again, I'm being somewhat simplistic, but they have basically become from a Sunni ally to a Shia enemy in broad basic terms, and they're calling it, I think, the Sunni Triangle, or because basically they're pushing out to the coast.
Yeah.
Sunni Crescent, thank you.
Yeah.
So, this is heavy stuff. So I must say, all this stuff's been in my head for months and years, and now it's all coming out on this chat. It's all everything you say is true. Again, sad, depressing, but
and you
true.
weren't going to come on, were you?
No, I was blissfully asleep. It must be collective consciousness, because I literally woke up just 2 minutes before I came on. I was like, why am I awake? I'm so sleepy. My brain must have heard you chattering.
Well, I'm just sorry we've taken over Mr. Brown's pop culture channel. With all
No,
this
man, listen, I'm resigned to the fact that, one, I'm a spectator on this and learning something. And I think it would be boring if we did all the pop stuff all the time. When you're on Stig, when you're on Stig, we know where, because you love this stuff. And
love it.
You
I know
love
you do,
it.
and I think you love speaking to people who like it or know about it. So, it's just one of the things. It's very, very, very interesting, and people need to hear this stuff.
Well,
because it's not covered in the mainstream media, is it?
No, and one of the things I always try to tell people is, because going back all the way to, what the beginning of the conversation where we were talking about, the bad things that happened in Germany in the war, and the Gina Carano tweet, things like that. It's like, if you understand what's happening in the world, if you understand history, you can avoid a lot of the worst effects. I always tell people, and I looked into this, there was never a better time, than the early 1940s to be in South America. Chile, Brazil, Argentina, everyone was wealthy, everyone was doing the samba, everyone was getting along, and the rest of the world was literally nuking itself and murdering, hundreds of millions of people. And so it just depends, if you know where to be, if you know what to look out for, if you know the warning signs, you can be where history doesn't happen.
So
where you never want to be where history.
Where would be a good time to be at this moment? New Zealand?
A remote island fortress off the coast of Eurasia, which is where I am.
That's why. New Zealand. That's why we're closing the borders. You can lock the fuck up.
Right.
Else.
Well,
yeah.
So speaking of New Zealand, so here's some bit of anecdotal evidence, right? You had millionaires and billionaires, the Tom Hanks of the world, you had the hedge fund manager of the world. Within the last 4 or 5 years, they were buying property in New Zealand hand over fist. Jeff Bezos, all of these people, New Zealand, New Zealand, New Zealand. And it's like, why? Okay, so they have an interesting landscape. So they have some nice tax laws.
They're copying me. The fuck?
Well, oh yeah, that's right. You're there. So this is.
Why do you think I'm here? Because I know what's going on. No joke. It's because I've seen the writing on the wall. I fucked off to New Zealand. Boom.
Right. Well, you have my envy, sir.
Well, come over, lads. That's what I'm saying. When we half joke about you lot coming over, get a one-way ticket. That's what I'd do.
Mm.
So come over, stay.
One-way ticket. One-way ticket.
That is why I'm in Fortress of Solitude in New Zealand, because when it kicks off,
ex-wife's garage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I'm back in the Fortress now. Back in the Fortress. Slightly slower internet, but pretty good for a revolution. I'm literally out in the hills. I've got my air rifle, my machete. I'm good to go.
Could I just break this up a moment and just go to the screen graphic? I was just basically...
Fuck, it's not Superman again.
Oh, I was just basically... I saw this in the news today. Boss of KPMG, Bill Michael, quits after... They had a big meeting on Monday.
Eat cake, peasants.
Yeah.
Let them eat cake.
Yeah, just people who are suffering, at home, locked in, no money, no job.
Well, it's like the guy from Nestle, the CEO of Nestle. He said that when he privatized water, I can't remember which country it was, but he wanted to privatize the water system and charge people, and said that water wasn't a basic human right. So I haven't eaten any Nestle chocolate bars ever since. Yeah.
Well, when you think about it, you have to pay for water. Yeah, but there you go.
Oh. Well, yeah, but you're paying for the cleaning of it, rather than...
I'll tell you what, there's method in my madness. Where I live in my Fortress of Solitude, I'm basically near the top of a stream. I've got my own natural stream.
Jobs are good ones.
I haven't got a water bill because my water supply is literally nature. So no joke, and that's another, again, method to my madness. I'm talking about selling this place, but you guys have just talked me out of it. Fuck it.
I'll just quickly mention what this guy said. They were having a big meeting at KPMG, and he basically told all these consultants, which I would imagine they'd be well paid anyway, these consultants. So probably on the upper level of the lockdown stuff. As I said, like with most things in life, there's 2 tiers to most things, and
haves and have-nots.
Yeah, so I would imagine these would be on the haves side, but he, while talking about the impact of the pandemic and lockdown on people's lives, he basically told them to stop playing the victim card. So, I dread
empathy not on.
Yeah, I would dread to think how much this bloke was on a year.
About 50 grams of coke.
Yeah, there you go. That's what I was thinking. That's what he was on, exactly.
Just one of these knobheads
not be psychotic.
Just needs to shut his fucking gob. Yeah. And just accept the fact that he's in a very, very privileged position. Good pay, good company to work for, blah, blah, blah.
Good
but
campaign.
instead he's just got to open his big fat fucking trap.
But that's why I'm against cancel culture.
Insult all the people who are
But look at what he's saying.
But at least we know. He said it, now we know.
No, he's saying, after he announced his resignation, he added, he was truly sorry that my words have caused hurt amongst my colleagues. Fuck your colleagues. What about the people you've insulted?
Exactly. What about the plebs? And it's one of those passive-aggressive apologies. I'm sorry.
Yeah, exactly. He's like,
that was a pretty Patel apology, isn't it? I'm sorry if you got offended by what I said. I'm sorry about my intention.
He said, in the light, I regard my position as untenable, so I decided to leave the firm. I would imagine he'll be getting a nice little payoff, or
he'll be getting a golden parachute, wouldn't he?
Stocks and shares and
Yeah, these people never suffer. You know, they
Just-
can get away with
Exactly.
anything. You know, and they'll
I've
still, end up being.
I've got no issue of people working hard for everything they've got, and you know, fair play to them if they work hard and they deserve everything they get. Yeah, but
Yeah.
sometimes they just need to shut their fucking mouth. Yeah, just shut your fucking mouth.
Humility seems to be alien. I can't even say it. I've
Yeah.
got a thing on my
Reality.
tongue.
Say it. Reality.
Reality. I can do it today.
Ooh.
But it seems anathema. I'm going to use a different.
KPMG STFU.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
But I'm glad they say it. You know, it's good. That is why I'm against cancelling anyone. If someone wants to come out, whether it's arrogant nonsense like that or offensive nonsense on Twitter, let them get on with it. You know, let them expose themselves with their words if they want to do that.
Don't get me wrong. He's got the right to say anything he wants, but
He's put his foot in it, hasn't he?
yeah, just shut your mouth, mate. You know,
Bad optics.
just keep it stum. You're old enough, and
Shut your mouth.
you're
shut
old
your
enough.
mouth.
hopefully wise enough. Just put a zip on it, just for once.
He obviously hasn't got
Just-
any Julian
just-
Cope records or
just-
Chas and Dave.
yeah,
Rabbit,
just-
rabbit, rabbit, rabbit,
Just-
KPMG, rabbit.
Just-
He's got more rabbit than Sainsbury's.
Yeah, just think for one moment. Just think what you're saying before brain engages mouth.
Even I've tried that sometimes.
I think it's
Sometimes.
like with all the politicians in Westminster. Yeah, I think they're just as bad,
This-
but probably not earning as much. Apart from our friend.
Well, at least he's saying he's saying what most of them are thinking anyway.
Yeah.
So give him that. At least
But
he's
that-
honest.
I'll tell you what. This is why to me. Now maybe I'm just suffering from too little information or little information, but not enough. This is why for me, Ocasio-Cortez is such a disappointment because I thought left wing, right wing preferences aside, and I just try and stay out left wing, right wing. I thought, well, at least she did come from she grew up in the Bronx and she's a woman of the people. And when she was lying about what happened to her during the infamous attempted insurrection, it apparently turns out she didn't grow up in the Bronx at all, but upstate New York in Westchester,
Oh, yeah.
in a nice house. Nothing wrong with that, but she's basically going, yeah, I'm a woman of the people, I'm from the Bronx. No, you're fucking not. You're from
What
upstate
are
New
you
York.
saying? A socialist is a liar? Oh my god!
Yeah, well, see, boom, there
Who'd
you
have
go.
thought?
So sorry to burst your bubble, genuine socialists, but Ocasio-Cortez is not a woman of the people, from what I understand. So, because she's lying about her background. At least with Thatcher, she literally was a grocer's
Grantham.
daughter.
From Grantham.
Yeah, Grantham, exactly. Although it's funny how she ended up being, right wing, not left wing. But that's because she was one of the few people that did actually work her way up to the system, and she genuinely believed in it because she thought it is a meritocracy. So there you go. See, Maggie Thatcher, more complicated than I initially thought. Oh, silence on that one. It's, no joke here, folks.
She was right in Europe.
Everybody hated Maggie, or most people. As growing up, we hate Maggie.
Yeah,
But
that's-
Boomers loved her, like my dad loved her.
But when you think about it, time and distance has probably made a lot of people, the ex-haters of her, probably realise that she wasn't so bad actually.
She was a bit of
she was-
both, basically.
She was probably right about most things.
Yeah, she was
that we-
definitely wrong about the miners' strike. Sending
Yeah,
the
I know.
police,
Yeah,
the police in with batons, a special patrol
Here's
group.
another Robert Anton Wilson quote for you. It only takes 20 years for a liberal to become a conservative without changing a single idea.
Wow. I mean, was it? Well, Ronald Reagan, he was literally a paid-up member of the Communist Party at one point, wasn't he? And then he was all about Reds under the bed. I mean, that is literally the history of Ronald Reagan in a nutshell. So there you go. Or he was rejected by the Communist Party, one of the two. But he did go from socialist to obviously a famously right-wing president. If anyone doesn't know their recent history, obviously we do. But,
loved
Yeah.
him and Reagan and Thatcher.
yeah, they loved it, didn't they? They
Love
basically
affair.
were the 80s almost to the year, because I don't like summing things up to decades. But Thatcher got in 79, Reagan in 80. If I'm remembering the
Thatcher,
years.
Thatcher, Reagan, and a Frankie Goes to Hollywood soundtrack.
Ah, Two Tribes. Well, do you know what? Yes, perfect. I mean, Two Tribes. That's what's happening. That's what you were talking about when I came in. Tribalism. It is literally turning into two tribes. When two tribes go to war, a point is all that you can score. Working for the black gas. Yep, all ties in, doesn't it? Holly Johnson was right. We should have listened to him
The
sooner.
prophet. The prophet,
He was.
Holly Johnson.
Yep, who'd have thunk it? Yeah, that KLF link I put out, he was in that actually. So nice to see. him
Oh,
still
I was
knocking
watching
about.
that.
on
I was
150.
watching that Top of the Pops KLF
Thompson
doing.
twins.
No, it's a
Okay.
KLF, and then you got it panned to Anthea Turner, and she
Okay.
says that's a KLF, and they
Dressed
look
in-
like they're dressed like the KKK.
KKK. What the fuck, Anthea?
Like
Bad,
people on
bad,
stage,
bad.
apart from the KLF, you
Jesus.
never had like rappers on it, like black guys. It's
They'd
just
never
like,
get away with
oh,
that now.
My goodness.
Fucking hell. They
Uh,
were hoods, not masks. Subtle difference, Anthea. Get back to bloody Blue Pit or whatever you're doing. Put your knickers on,
Commander,
make us a cup of tea.
how's the channel going then? Are you going to get back into the channel?
Yeah, I will as soon as I can start
If
producing.
he doesn't get
stuff
shut down by the NSA.
better. I don't think the NSA will be on to me before YouTube will be, but no, I
The real
I-
fear, the YouTube.
Yeah.
they're the scary ones. The NSA
The real
is the scary
tyranny.
one. But yeah, I played. It's going to be a slow start because I have to build a studio and it's going to be some trouble. But
Come on, John
but-
Campion's managed it.
but I will be. Well, yeah. I
Will,
in the
will you?
next-
You know the kind of the blinds, the kind of screen thing, what you use for your videos. You know with the square glass, the glass panels.
yeah.
When you frame that up on one of your videos, we try and get it parallel to the edges instead
Oh, I
of
knew it. Fucking
Really?
OCD Brown.
really
I knew that was going to
fucking
get
with
you.
my OCD, mate.
I figured. Well, here's the good news for
time.
you is that I'm not going to have those anymore. That's at the old fortress. The new fortress.
Oh, okay.
Isn't so appointed. But there'll be a different thing, and I will try to get the angles right for you this time. It was hard to do with the way that the table and the camera and everything. But
Wow.
yeah,
Oh.
I hear you.
No segue, but if someone wants to read out what crew.
Yeah,
and
okay.
Dirks just went,
Crowd
wow.
Mirab. Maggie, she did as well. Maggie sent the SAS to Peterhead Prison during the riots. I saw the prisoners on the roof from our house. Wow.
The SAS, fucking hell. It's not the Iranian embassy, is it?
I remember that.
I didn't know that she sent the SAS in, though.
Yeah, I remember
Crikey.
that. Yeah, I remember that. She didn't take shit, did Maggie?
She didn't. That's why she was good internationally, because another leader might have let the
Okay.
Falklands go.
Um,
She was like, no, fuck it, we're having them.
Getting back to Commander's tips for his channel.
Well, we can get that all offline. We don't have to waste the airtime here on that.
Oh, no, I think we do.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. We like your
I think we
views on
do.
Becoming revolution.
I
but
think this is all
just-
positive.
Can you it's a metaphor. You've got to be centered. You can't be too left or too right, can you? You know what I mean?
I would like to see. I think you should hire one of those really big Harley Davidsons,
Oh, yes.
and I want to see you riding up from the horizon, pulling up, getting off the bike, doing the monologue,
Mm-hmm.
getting back onto the bike, and riding off. Because I think
Into the sunset.
I think that would be your selling point. Because I think
Do
I'd
it like-
buy.
It's
I'd
such
buy
a
into
good idea.
Street Hawk style. Like,
Yeah, I'd
Yeah.
buy into a massive Harley Davidson.
I'm
you know-
going to do the same thing on the penny farthing.
Yeah, maybe maybe take say 6 or 7 kind of stock photography kind of entrances. I just kind of work from there. I think you on a Harley Davidson is your selling point. With all the white gear, would look amazing.
Well, I can't disagree with that, but as I'm impressed with the image of myself. You're just sitting here, but I don't know. I may have to work up to that. I just want to get some good, well-produced videos out first, and then I'll worry about
You could have
jazzed up intro.
you could have Mrs. Commander on the back of the Harley Davidson as well.
That would
Wow.
definitely be a selling point.
Wow, that'd be.
But no one would be paying attention to me,
Yeah, you could have say on the fuel tank, you could sponsored by Bullet Bourbon.
Well, then I'd have Doomcock on my, on my Patreon or whatever. Yeah.
Nick going, I like that idea. Next week, Doomcock shows up on a Harley. Oh, guess what? I've had a new idea. And then you'll be going, it's just people claiming I steal their ideas. How dare they? My friends.
So, when do you think you're going to be getting some new stuff? Couple of weeks, 3 weeks, month?
Well, I'm going to play around with the same kind of low production that I had been doing just to stay fresh. So I don't know, within a week or two, I hope to have another video or two up. And then I want to start doing some live streams of my own, bringing the missus into it for some things. And
she's not as easy as it looks. Got to say, credit to Brown hosting.
She is more.
I agree.
She's more than welcome to come on here, mate. Both of you are. You know that.
Oh, I know. I've told her. I've said, "Hey, do you want to talk?" And she's like, She's a little intimidated, and talking to people from England. It's very hoity-toity.
Oh, yeah, we're very intimidating.
Yes, that's how we feel about people from New Zealand, isn't it, Cockney?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm confused. I mean, I'm an immigrant expat. It's very confusing. That's why I hold on to my British identity. I'm from Poland in New Zealand. What am I? I don't even know anymore.
You're Cockney.
I'm Cockney. Cockney from Warsaw. Yeah,
please. Please say to your good lady.
Doing the Warsaw walk. Oi!
But I was born within the sound of Stalin's Palace of Culture. But I literally grew up in sight of Stalin's Palace of Culture. So there you go. When I went back to Poland, revisited my old apartment before I sold it. Yep.
What's Poland like nowadays?
It's
cold.
Up until
a
few months ago, I would have said it's a success story. But now they've got literal riots in the street because they're going with fully hardcore, no quibble, no abortion law, basically, and the people are rioting. So I was having a discussion with my brother about that. So. So even Poland, once again, not immune to basically, they're not quite riots in the streets, but protests in the streets, basically. So, a bit of the old tumult.
Do you think all this coup stuff has just amplified people's madness?
Yes, clearly it has around the world. Because we've all,
it's not good, is it?
Nah. Even the small amount of lockdown we had here drove us mad. So that's why I'm grateful we're not under lockdown at the moment. But it's like a spectre that haunts us. I fear it might come back again, and in the winter.
I probably think you might. Because.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I just have a bad feeling.
Yeah, exactly. I've got a bad feeling about this.
I said, I know the government realise that they're not going to get away with another lockdown here. I just don't think it's going to happen because
it's meant to be over in March in the UK. Is that the promise?
We might come out of it April, Easter. They might let us out Easter.
But how do they know? It's like it's like when Obama says...
It's bullshit. It's bullshit, mate. It's all bullshit. How do they know?
You can't plan these things.
Yeah.
Because it's like when Obama said we're going to pull out of Afghanistan on such and such a date, and the Taliban are going, well, right then,
we'll be in lockdown for 4 weeks.
Well, exactly. If we're going to pull out the troops in
later.
April, then they're going to take over in May, aren't they? You can't tell the enemy when you're pulling out. That's ridiculous. Silly Obama. Never announce a due date. You can't have a war with a deadline. Right, that's it, lads. We're fighting until April 1st. After that, it's all over. Ridiculous.
Commander, are the servants locked down where you are?
More or less, yes. There's, we don't let them too far out, but I have a virus-free compound, so that's.
You have a testing regime, yes?
Yes, we do. A rigorous one. But that's only when we let fresh blood in, and other than that, all the island natives have been vetted, and everyone's good to go.
I've just got a message from Trev.
Oh, do you want? Now he wants to come on.
No, he just saying, "How are you?" Oh,
Trev, that's how we are.
Trev needs to do our Friday night thing. For the people in the chat and who are viewing, I think we're coming on tonight at 2000 hours GMT. We're going to do a little experiment with like a Friday evening kind of pop culture kind of,
Friday nighty, whitey, blighty.
I'm yes. I'm trying to come up with the appropriate name. I've got 3 of the words sorted. I'm just working on one of the words. And,
We've rejected Friday Night Bullies.
I think that's too confrontational.
No,
As much as it's spot on. You know that.
Friday Night Bollocks, come on.
There you go, Friday Night Bollocks. Hello, good
Okay.
evening, and bollocks.
Bollocks. Yeah,
Press
so
the button.
so we're trying to hopefully work out some kind of format for Friday night for the UK. So
It'll be a nice contrast to this. It'll be basically 2 hours of cocking about.
yeah, as opposed to all this heavy commander culture stuff. But
sorry.
That's a nice way to feel welcome, isn't it?
yeah, but
How dare you tell the truth, Commander Culture? We don't want to hear
No,
it.
I'm sorry.
It's depressing.
That's why I always lose friends.
How to lose friends and influence people.
Influence people, exactly. That's the new book. How to lose friends and influence people. That's
but
the
the
new book.
thing is, Stig has been gagging for this,
How to
haven't you,
lose friends
Stig?
and influence enemies.
Oh yeah.
You've been gagging
Brilliant.
for this, haven't you, Stig?
Probably.
Oh yeah. No,
125.
I've been saving it up for like 2 weeks. It's like I gotta get this out. Everything that comes into my head, I'm like, oh. But
I'll tell you
so
what,
now
you've come a long way from testing cars, Stig.
I'm.
Ha 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 ha!
Well, yes.
Go on, Stig, do your British accent, because when he did it the other week, God, it was piss funny.
Brilliant.
It sounded like when Bart Simpson was trying his British accent in The Simpsons. It was piss funny. Go on, Stig.
Let's see.
When he had his little picture him with a little mustache as he's saying it.
Oh yes. Well, this is my British accent. It's kind of posh, but I don't really know how to do a Cockney accent. You see, that's a little lowbrow for me. I try and stay with the Rex Harrison, a little bit higher, more educated. One can't really call themselves an intellectual if they're cocking about.
Did you say can't?
Accent.
It's can't.
I'm terribly sorry.
No, he was calling you a cunt.
Oh, I see. I do about it.
Emmanuel can't. Yes, he can.
You cunt.
Oh yes.
Manuel can't.
I'll give you voice of reason.
Come here.
Emmanuel Kant,
Yeah.
hardcore philosophy on the hour. That's highfalutin humour there, Emmanuel Kant.
Emmanuel Kant was a real pissant.
That Thomas Paine, I'll give you what for, Thomas Paine.
I'll show you pain.
Yeah, these are the times that try men's souls. Souls? What about the whole shoe? I've got a hole in my shoe.
Our souls, more like.
Yeah, exactly. These are the times that try our souls. Oh, you got to laugh, haven't you? Otherwise, you'll cry.
There's not a lot to laugh about, is there, really?
Well, when civilization goes down, hopefully
we
they'll
do
be
know-
listening to this show.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's always
I do look forward to Asvi Babyface talking about the Iraq-Iran conflict on his channel.
I've got a Mujahideen hot toy. Comes with his own Stinger missile and rocket launcher. Functioning rocket launcher. Look, pew pew. Brilliant.
Keep hold of that. That'd be rare in the future, like the Boba Fett one, wouldn't it?
Yeah, don't lose the weapons. Keep it boxed. Make sure you keep the packaging.
Yeah, that's it. Robert Meyer Burnett going, well,
The wooden crate.
I've got a Taliban in the box. I don't want to get him out. He's angry already.
Oh dear.
And now we've got a 1/6 scale Afghan policeman ready with literally a turncoat. He's got a Taliban uniform on the inside. He's good to go. That's a hot toy range. I joke, but I'm looking at
The
my hot
ISIS
toy
range.
Yeah, I've got it right in front of you. As you know,
ISIS
Steve,
action,
haven't you?
man.
ISIS
Little
action.
swivel eyes.
Listen, we shouldn't make light of that because obviously I know, but I know it was bad. We do apologise for that, folks.
I can
Comes
switch
with
the camera on.
ripcord jacket.
No, I've got my Syria diorama right now, and this is the scary thing. When
Yeah,
the
'cause you're into
I-
your stuff like that.
yeah, I've got my toy tanks. And when they started doing new World War III range, I was like, fuck, what do they know that we don't? And now I've got it all right in front of me. I've got my little Syrian village right here, basically. Oh, it's unbelievable. It would be funny, but it's true. I'll post some pictures on Twitter later. I'm not joking. Syrian diorama.
On 90 minutes, and that's
there you
it,
go.
boys.
Damascus diorama on 1:30.
Yeah, I think we'll call it a draw at that because obviously we're transmitting
That's
tonight.
what Obama said.
My throat, it's starting to feel like I'm smoking 40 a day again with all this talking.
I am.
but,
I'm getting so
my
stressed
world.
uh,
I've got a snail on right now. I'll blame Problem Big.
Right.
I'll blame myself.
Lee, thanks for popping in, mate. These
My
discussions are nothing without you in it, mate. So we appreciate that, sir.
Sorry.
Cockney, glad
Yeah,
you
thanks
turned
for
up,
waking
mate.
me up.
Yeah, glad you
Brilliant.
turned up, mate. And the star of the channel, our very, very lovely, big helmeted white knight on his. You really do need to get that Harley Davidson sorted. Commander Stig Culture. Cheers, Stig.
All right, thanks for having me on. I appreciate
It's
it.
we've missed you, mate. So try not to be away so long next time. Yeah.
Will do. Will do.
Everybody in the chat. Serious today, guys. You got to take the light with the smooth and all that. If you enjoy this
laughing in
content,
the face of Armageddon.
yeah. If there's a lot of shit going on in the world,
You've got to
yeah.
laugh, haven't you?
Yeah, just keep your heads up, boys. You know, keep laughing.
Yeah, chin up.
Yeah, guys in the chat, thanks for turning up. If you like the content, usual stuff, please like, share, subscribe, and all that. Tell your friends. Let's try and get the subs up a bit. And as I said, we're on at 100 hours tonight, GMT, for kind of a geeky cocking about show. So we'll see you
See you
then.
there, Gloom Block.
So I'll play the outro and we'll catch you later. Cheers, guys. Bye bye.
Push the button.
Push the button.